Absolutely. I'm Chris Riley. I'm head of public policy at Mozilla. So I work on a range of policy issues, including privacy, cybersecurity, internet neutrality, internet governance, and a host of others. There's a broad range of privacy, data protection issues, and consumer issues, including transparency of data practices, helping to put consumers in control. I think the tenor of the day to me is one of sort of looking ahead a little bit, looking back into the very recent future and then looking ahead. So over the past couple years, we've seen a lot of changed attitudes towards data online, a lot of increased distrust from consumers, fear of what's going on with their data and their practices, whether it's fear of corporations that are using their data in ways they're not comfortable with, or in governments that are accessing that data for overbroad surveillance or other purposes. And I think the businesses here are reacting and responding to that and trying to sort of get out ahead of that a little bit and work together to try to improve trust for the sake of the ecosystem as a whole. I think the discussions today are sort of recognizing and reinforcing that shared norm among the members. And that's the part that's most striking for me as well. Mozilla is very unique in that we're a not-profit company in some sense, right? In that we have products and hundreds of millions of users around the world, but at the end of the day, we're nonprofit and mission-driven. And so I come to trade events like this one and bigger ones, and rare do I see or feel such a sort of commonality of spirit. It's not that everyone here is mission-driven, because these are mostly for-profit companies, but we all sort of share the same driving motivation and the same set of instincts to understand this space and to get out ahead of it and to put consumers back at the center. So for me, the discussions today are sort of around keeping everybody closer together, building the relationships, and then it's on how we build on those after today is done through the working groups and through subsequent activities that we'll start to see the real change and progress. So we have a few different work streams that contribute to this consumer trust idea. For me, from the public policy point of view, most recently, cybersecurity has been probably our number one topic in the United States, in Germany, in India, and places all around the world. And that includes working on issues like encryption and opposing government backdoors, working on information sharing and how businesses and government actors and civil society can work together to try to stop attacks, and a whole host of other related issues. And I think those are going to continue to be big issues in the years to come. A second work stream is around generally data practices. So how is user data collected, stored, and used? And we have some well-established data privacy principles at Mozilla where, for our business purposes, we try to collect only the data that we need, to get rid of it when we no longer need it, and to keep it very securely stored while we are holding on to it. And so I think what you're going to see is us talking more about that in the next couple of years, starting to evangelize more for this and starting to work with other businesses to try to help them improve their baseline data practices as well. There's a third stream, which is starting to get pretty active right now, which is around user choice. So a few years ago, Mozilla was a big driver behind Do Not Track in an industry consortium in that sense. The Do Not Track initiative didn't quite work quite as well as we had hoped it would, but the idea is still alive and well, and we're starting to implement that into our product through built-in tracking protection. So some of the popular add-ons today, like the Electronic Frontier Foundation's Privacy Badger, Disconnect, Ghostery, and others, allow users in their web browsers to block trackers, whether for advertising or for social media or for analytics or any other sort of pernicious third-party behavior, or pernicious to some, I should say, useful to others. But empowering that kind of choice through your web browsing experience is something that matters a lot to us. And so we now in beta of Firefox have that built into the web browser without needing an add-on. And we're starting to get to the point where in the beta mode now, when you launch private mode in Firefox, it turns that on by default. So we're trying to reinvent what private means and make it sort of align more with what users expect and try to innovate in that direction. I am interested to hear more the innovation conversations that are going to happen later and sort of get more of a concrete sense of what other businesses are doing to try to get out ahead of this. Mozilla, of course, has its own ideas in the pipeline. Frankly, I think things are going to get worse before they're going to get better. I don't think there are enough businesses here, as many as there are, and as good as it is to see MEF growing. We don't have everyone here, and the people who aren't here are not necessarily doing things that will improve consumer trust. So my prediction has always been that over the next few years we're going to see more harm to consumer trust, and I think that will help build the critical mass that we need to get market forces rallied around and in support of the things that we're talking about here today. And then some of the innovations that we're building now will really start to take root and to grow and to lead to other ideas.